So it is this thing that,
Sir, you said something very, very interesting about speed, secrecy. So it actually evolves from psyche also, what kind of psyche a person has developed over a period of time. So would you like to share with us few events in your life which has actually helped you develop this psyche?
well, there is no event which I manufactured or which I planned that it will affect my psyche. The things that you plan, they don't affect your psyche because you plan for it. Things that affect your psyche is something that happened and you had not planned for it and then leave a mark. If I recall, I think, in a way, I had little troubled childhood. My father was an army officer, and I was born as a son after his this thing. The whole family, I was the son after a gap of about say 40 years, and I had a lot of boys, and then I had sisters. So I was very pampered, and my grandfather and my mother and everybody felt that way. So I became a very pampered child, to some extent a spoiled child, as it happens. So my father I, sent me to a boarding school. So I went to military school. I was about 8 years that time. So I left my home at the age of 8, and I went to, at that time it was known as King George's Royal Indian Military College, later became King George's School, and now it's known as a military school. That is when these things in my life, from the coziness of the house to the loneliness of a boarding house, I developed a psyche. I used to weep for long hours after it was dark because you were sleeping alone. But soon I learned in this life you have to be alone. And you have to find your pains, your pleasures, your comforts. It's all in you. So you have got. So I became a loner, which I remained and which suited my profession. But it also made me this thing that I am responsible for whatever I do. If I get beaten up by the other students, it is because I have not been able to manage them well. And if I got this thing like this, so that is the first event in my life, which when I see in the retrospect, that is gave me this thing that if I have to do a thing, I have to do it alone. If I have got to be self-dependent. And everything that I do, I am responsible for. Everything that happens to me, nobody else is responsible for that except me, good or bad. I have got to bear the consequences. The second was that school had a very strange motto, which still is, they have not changed it. It's a very, very old school, the military school is made, it's got skill. Play the game. They used to think that, well, it's more important that, the students were brought there in very young age. They must learn to play the game and inculcate certain qualities which come through this type of game. And every child was allotted some game. So I was in the Chetwood house in this thing, and then when the selection started for this thing, some people were taken for football and some for hockey and others. I was this thing for boxing.
Boxing.
It's a very interesting story. Anyway, school level, everybody plays, so I was also there. I was a reasonably good school time boxer and everything. But he was also my house teacher and also the these things. He told me one day a story. He said, "Do you know why I selected you for the boxing?" This thing. He said, "You have got a very unique quality." I was, of course, at that, when you are very young at the age, nobody knows who will be tall, who will be short. So all are short in this thing only by small inches or half inches, something like that. So you don't have this thing. He said, that is, you never accepted a defeat. When we are beaten up and you are beaten up, you will never come out of the ring. Even when you are bleeding, even when you are this thing, you will continue. Not that you were the best fighter. but you had great resilience. I will win the war, not because I'm the strongest, but I will not quit. I can wait, prepare myself, and wait for years and years. And he said, that is what I thought, that psychologically a boxer's quality, that is, you would stay in the ring up to the last round. Even when you have lost the rounds, even when you have been beaten up, even when you are bleeding. He said there were much better boys who could be this thing. But moment they got one or two of the jabs or something like that, etc., thereafter, they just wanted to quit. Or this thing like that. You kept on getting beaten up and things like that, but you stayed there. Over the period of time, you learned that trick, so probably you started winning also. It was a great this thing. And he said that it's a quality, not good or bad. But remember that this is your strength. If you can hold in the face of adversity for a long time, that's why my tenures have been very long. I went to Northeast, I was there for 7 years. I went to Pakistan, I was there for 7 years. I can hold on. You can torture me or something like that, I cannot bear it. I can bear injustice for a long time without losing my this thing and others. So I think as a personal this thing, my becoming independent at a very young age and thereafter getting beaten up to understand that well, you can get beaten up, but you can still win.
So you took the right decision of actually.
No, I do not. There were circumstances.
Yes.
As I said, if you take a decision, it cannot affect your psyche. You know, if I decide to do something, I prepared myself. My mind, reasoning faculty has been involved. So it will not this thing. What happens in life, that changes your psyche. So when I didn't go to this boarding school to change my psyche, but I suddenly realized that mother's comfort is not there. And they're all boys who are all, you know, particularly the boys, when they see a new person, they all are his enemies till they settle down. To begin with, you have to beat each other. And the one who comes the new one, he's the one who is beaten up by everyone. So we used to have a pyramid. Everybody will pounce on you.
Right.
So it's all right. That is a process of growing because after some time you become the senior. So, but you do not know that how it is going to affect you. But this thing that in this entire world, it's my strength, it is my resilience, it is my patience, it is my this thing. You have got the choice. You can go to the corner and cry. You can run around and go to the housemaster and say that I have been beaten up, and you will tell children not do that. But the next day, when you are going, somebody will put you on an elbow like that. Somebody else will this thing like that. That will keep on happening. You can't prevent the things that are happening to you. It is important in life what happens to you. What is more important is how do you respond to what happens to you. I think the nature or circumstances were preparing me, not for what happens to me, that is in the hands of others or the God, but it is preparing me for how will you respond when something happens to you like that.